There we go. But it will be recording the sound as well. Okay, so what we see with the kidney, first of all, we can see the external features, the shape of the kidney. There is a little bit of a remains here of the capsule of the kidney. So it's called the renal capsule, and you can see some fatty tissues. So this is fatty and connective tissues. What we would also see on the kidney, if the butchers hadn't removed it, we would see a fat coating, and the fat coating is a thick protective layer, because actually the kidneys are rather exposed in the body at the back, which is why illegal kidney punching in boxing. And fat layers give it some protection when the bones can't. And of course, in the fat would also be the adrenal glands that sit on top of the kidney. Now here, there is an indent in the kidney. One of the obvious features of the shape of the kidney is that there is this indent here, which is known as the renal hilus. And the renal hilus is where the ureter and the blood vessels enter and exit the kidney. So if I pull this open a bit now, hopefully that's keeping the focus. There, can you see the ureter? It's quite a large tube coming out of the kidney. See that? And it's made of a thick cartilaginous and connective tissue. And the major job of the ureter is, of course, to carry the urine out of the kidney. You should also find in this area the blood vessels, so we should have the arteries and the veins. Okay, now to dissect the kidney, where am I going to make the cut? So, Nainoid, where would you cut it? He's gone. Now, Tisha, where do you think I should cut it? Who's got an idea? If anyone's looked at the dissection sheet, normally I'd get you to have a go at this if we were in class. This is why I'm trying to get you to think about it, because it's then a bit similar to actually doing it yourself if you get to actually think about how you'd cut it. So where would the cut be made? Krish, what do you think? Yeah, halfway through the thing, I'll take halfway through the thing is a cut like this. Yeah, so I want to cut in and open the kidney up. So if I turn the kidney on its side, like this, I can then make the cut without cutting directly into my fingers. And I'm going to cut a little way in, and then have a look inside. So I'm going to open it up and see how far I've got in. Now I start to see here some of the structures in the kidney. So we start to see, first of all, the change from the cortex to the medulla. Now let's just try trimming some of those tissues in here. So some of the connective tissues are holding it together. It's going to be hard for me to do this and to keep focus. So bear with me a bit. I'll bring it back into focus when I can. Right, now just a little bit more cutting there, and I can see, right, now if you look there, looking into the kidney like this, you start to see how it works, because actually in that structure, you see it drains into this empty pocket there called the renal pelvis. So the renal pelvis, of course, is going to come out of this tube that's the ureter. So if I push the scissors up now, you'll see actually they come up rather easily straight through the kidney there. It's largely a hollow pocket there in the middle. Okay, now I'm going to snip this bit away here. Open up a little bit further and this is how I wanted you to see it, really. So what we see here is the drainage system. Now, what I want you to focus on here is this, where I'm pointing with the, see where I'm pointing with the scissor tips? What you see is a little hole in the wall of the pelvis. So the renal pelvis here with this white connective tissue has a little pink tip of what's called the renal pyramid poking through the hole. Now there's another one that I've cut right down through next to it, and you see why they're called pyramids? There's a little teat shape. Now this structure, this renal pyramid, is the urine producing structure. It contains all of the kidney's collecting ducts. And so all the collecting ducts essentially here drain down into, now let's just try and trim it down a little bit more. That end, I should be able to open it up flat. You'll be able to see it. Knife, not quite like using a scalpel, but I think if I take off some of the blood off the surface, you'll be able to see it there. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get. Oh, quite happy with that, really. There is a little bit of blood on it. So here, what you now see in the opened up kidney is here, like I said, here we see some nice poking out structures that we call the pyramids, and the urine literally drips out of the tips of these into the pelvic structure and out through the ureter. There is a clear hole right in the center of the kidney here. So what happens? Blood vessels come up into the cortex, the outer part, which is the light chocolatey brown colour around the outside, or liver coloured. Yeah, and the pinker colour is the layer we call the medulla, and these pinker colours are actually, they're patched with white columns. So we have the pyramids and the columns coming around the kidney. And here the pink colour shows us that a lot of blood is going into these structures. And this is where the filtration happens. You cannot see the kidney nephron. The kidney nephron is a microscopic structure. It's a very thin tube and it's not visible during a dissection like this. So at the moment, you should see my cursor over the kidney. Let's see how much of this, and I want you to draw a drawing of it. So you might well want to do the drawing right now while we're talking through it. And I'm going to ask a couple of questions though. So Nainoi, what's this structure here on the outer part? What would you call that? Right, let's switch. Nainoi, you're not sure, right? Yeah. All right. Now you can take a guess, 99. No, that's the very outer part, the capsule. Good try. Jack, what do you think this structure here is? A kind of liver coffee colored kind of structure. That's the renal cortex. Good. Yeah. And coming in here, Tisha, what would you call the next layer? Inside the cortex. Kira, what would you call it? All right, if you think you've got the answer, type it into the chat. So we go from the cortex into the next layer. What is it known as? No answers yet. Someone out there must know. Yes, thank you. JD's got it. Mahi's got it. The medulla. Yeah. So now the medulla's got two parts. So the pinker part, which is poking through the pelvis here, look, these pink parts. What are those called? The pink parts here. Miles has got it, and Victor, well done. So try and type it into the text. Yes, thank you, Krish. It is the renal pyramid. And next to this renal pyramid, we see then the columns coming up. And the columns are essentially a white connective tissue layer before it drops down into the ureter. Now I'm going to pause with that screen for a moment and allow you to make a simple pencil sketch. It's best done with a plain piece of paper if you've got one, and label those parts I just went through.